Hey everybody, Lawrence here with 30 Basic Threading, coming at you with another one. Now, just previous to this video, I did a little review of the Victix early Saxon Armoured Warriors. You know, they're great looking minis. I figured, well, I'm going to paint a handful of them up quick, just to see how they actually look with color on. And to be honest, I'm actually really happy with how they look. They actually turned out pretty well. So, I am really happy with how they look, and they fit. Oh, sorry about that. Pretty well in with all my other fantasy stuff, even though they're historical miniatures. So I just want to walk you through. I painted up 6 of them, and I just want to walk you through how I put color to them. Granted, now I'm doing essentially slap chop, and these paint jobs are not going to win any awards, but they'll look good on the table from 3 feet away. So. But before I actually show you how I went about it, I want to give a big thank you to my patrons, Dungeon Matron, Corel, Mia Geet, Sykes, and Rick Spotton. Your guys' monthly help is greatly appreciated, and I can't thank you enough. All right, let's get to it. I've got all my models assembled, and I got texture on the bases, and now I'm just using an airbrush to primer them all black. You can do this with a rattle can, obviously, but I'm lazy and I don't feel like going outside, so I'm using the airbrush. Now that they're all primer black, I'm just hitting them with a zenithal highlight with some gray paint through the airbrush. Again, you can use a rattle can. Now that I've got them all zenithal highlight with the gray, I'm going to dry brush some white on, going from up the top down and not in any other really direction. This will just make highlights more realistic, I guess, but basically, you know, like the sun is hitting from above. So, I like to use the dry brush for this step. At least for these I am. Now, there's a lot of armor because they're armored Saxon warriors. So I'm using this enchanted steel speed paint. And anything that's armored or, you know, I want in this particular metallic color, I'm just hitting everything. And now I'm going to start hitting different leather areas with a contrast snakebite leather. Yeah, I use all different brands for when I do this. I use the Army Painter Speed Paint, I use the Vallejo Express, and I use Citadel contrast paints because, you know, they have different effects, but, you know, I like the different shades and I don't want to have to go through the effort of mixing up individual colors if I don't have to. So, but right now I'm just using the snakebite leather to paint up anything that I want in a leather color.
Now I'm going to use some Vallejo Express Colors Space Gray. Yeah, Space Gray. But I'm going to get a couple pants or cloth areas in at least one or two of the models. And like I said, it's just a matter of picking out the different spots with the different colors I want to use. And for this particular one, I decided to go with Space Gray for a historical miniatures. Yeah, that works. And here I'm using Royal Robes for speed paint. It is just basically I'm picking out different areas that I want it to be a certain color. And I don't want to paint every single one in the same color, so I'm varying up my color choices just so I have some variety, just so it doesn't look like a big mass of one, like they all wear the same clothes, and it's like these guys are ancient or historical or fantasy. So, and of course, the skin I'm painting with this peachy flesh color, but I like to vary up the colors from one model to the next, just so I have some variance. But with this peachy flesh, any exposed flesh is going to get hit with it. And of course, Talos bronze. I'm going to use this just for areas of the helmets, belt buckles, and just to set it different from the rest of the rest of the armor, the enchanted steel that I used. I need it to be slightly different, just to look different. I don't want, again, some variation, just so it's not all one big massive, yep, that's metal. And of course, going back to the Vallejo Express car, Wasteland Brown. I like that shade of brown. Some of these miniatures have leather armor and not metallic, so this one has a leather armor. So I'm just using the Wasteland Brown for his armor area, but I want to set it apart from the leather, like the leather strapping and the belts and the boots that I used the leather color for. So I went with this Wasteland Brown. And now I'm grabbing speed paints, bony matter. Yes, typically it's used for skeletons, but it also is a great color for, pants and cloth, and just to give it a little bit of a brownish tint to it, because I don't want bright white. No, not for these guys. I needed something I wanted a light tan or a brown. So bony matter fit the bill. So that's what I went with. And of course here, speed paint, ruddy fur. Because one of the guys actually has a bit of a fur cloak to, shawl or whatever. I think it's supposed to be a wolf or a bear or something. I'm not entirely sure, but but I just wanted a fur look color quick. And again, I'm just trying to get these tabletop ready, so I'm not really doing any massive highlights or anything like that. And just get it on, get it ready for the table, and get it to a point where from 3 feet away these are going to look great. And of course, another express color here, greasy black. I was like, this will actually look good for this got one guy's cloak. So I was like, yeah. So I just grabbed it and just started painting on this. It's like when you're using these speed paints or contrast or express colors, and you do a slap chop, yeah. Granted, like I said, you're not going to win any painting competitions, but it gets them tabletop ready, especially if you have a lot of miniatures you need to get done. This is just a quick tool to get them on the table. And I'm using Grim Black here just to get a few areas, trim around the edge of the armor, or some cloth and stuff. This is just basically, I want it edged in black or certain areas. You know what? I honestly don't know why. That looks good. And that's basically my thought process. And most of what I do is that'll work. And that's what I use. Of course, I'm grabbing some contrast. Gryph-hound orange. I think this color is great for doing red hair or beards. And for the few that I'm doing here, anyone that had hair or a beard exposed, I just went with red because I thought it looked cool. And when I do rest of the pack, I'll vary up the colors with blondes and browns. But for the couple that I have to do here, I just went with the Gryph-hound orange because it's a perfect color for hair and beards. I grabbed Vallejo's Battle Dress Brown because several of these miniatures have small little pouches on their belts, and that's the brown I wanted to go to. Yeah, I'm using several different browns, but there's a reason. It's I don't want to use the same shade of brown too much. I want a variation. And I said, it doesn't take much. Just a little bit of difference will make a big difference, actually. Now, of course, mahogany right here. Yeah, basically a wood brown color. And the inside of these shields have a wood texture to them, so I'm going to use a brown, woodish brown color to paint them. So mahogany was a good, at least for me, it was a good choice for the insides of the shields, at least. And of course, I'm grabbing some noble skin here. It's basically like a brownish black with a little bit of a green tint to it. And I decided that's what I wanted to paint the face of the shields with. Now, there are shield transfers that are available for these. I don't have any at the moment. So eventually I'm going to order them and I'll apply them long after the effect. At least that's what I'm telling myself. But for now, I'm just going to paint these shields, the face of the shields, basically a almost blackish brown color. At least for the time being, till I get the transfers. And of course, some brazen copper, speed paint, and I'm going to trim the edges of all the shields and different metal parts with that color. Just to show it like there's a metallic edge to it to protect the the shield a little bit better than just straight up wood. At least that's how it's molded. And honestly, I was going off some painted pictures online. It's like, oh, that's kind of a copper, brown, bronze color. Some of them were different colors and whatnot, but I decided to go with this copper color. Gives it a brownish bronze look to it. And I'm using some Army Painter gunmetal here. The armor I had watered down a little bit with some speed paint medium. I kind of overdid it a little too much, so I need to bring up the armor a little bit more. So I'm just giving like a quick dry brush or overbrush to highlight the armor and stuff a little bit more to make it a little bit shinier than what it was originally. At least it looked okay, but I knew it could be more. And so a simple little step like this just fixed the whole problem. Now here I want to put a little bit of shade and shadows to but I don't want to go too dark, so I just want to use this Seraphim Sepia from Citadel, and I'm just basically giving the whole thing a wash, and I'll get into all the cracks and crevices and add a little bit of depth and shadows to the different parts of the model. And also it will help cover up a few painting mistakes I made by actually collecting in the little corners and stuff where I may have overpainted or whatnot. For the bases here, I'm going to start off with a burnt umber. I use cheap craft paints on the bases, but I'm using my standard dirt pattern that I use on my terrain because I've said it before, and I'll say it again, I like my miniatures bases to match my terrain. These miniatures are going to be used around stuff I make, so it should match to what I use. So, but when doing bases, do it however you want. Match it to what you want. But again, this is just 100% coverage of the burnt umber. And now I'm using a nutmeg brown, which is a mid-tone brown. And I'm going to do an overbrush over all the texture on the bases. And basically, I'm going for like roughly a 70% coverage, leaving all the dark recesses and nooks and crannies alone. And I'm grabbing a light mocha here just to do, so I can do a quick light dry brush for a highlight to basically make all the peaks and stuff of all the sand that I had glued onto the base pop a little bit more. I'm going to be using a 50-50 mix of water and PVA, and I'm going to brush it on to the base in various spots, and this will also help hide the original base from that was attached to the feet of the Victix minis that after I glued it on to the circular 20 mil base that I use. I'm going to sprinkle on some earth fine flocking from Woodland Scenics, then I'll follow up by a burnt grass color, and then I'll sprinkle on a yellow for a highlight. And that's basically what I do for my terrain, and I want these bases to match my terrain, so that's what I'm using. Now I have these various grass tufts that I got from Team U. And normally I use huge miniatures, but these were tiny, smaller bases, and I just wanted to deal with some tiny grass tufts. So I'm just dipping them in some PVA and then putting them in various strategic places, also to help hide the bit of a bump from the original Victix mini base. You place them in, and once you get the flocking and these little grass tufts on, unless you pull them up to your face, you're not going to see that little bit of a bump from the original base. I could have used some green stuff or milliput or something, or any kind of putty just to kind of smooth out, but I didn't, so I'm hiding it now at this point. But I'm just putting various, like I said, a few grass tufts on each base just to give it a little variation, and boom, they will look good from 3 feet away. And now something I'd like to do to all my minis, I like to give a black trim to all the bases. I don't know why, I just do. So I'm just using some black paint and edging and painting around the edges of the base. And overall, I am really happy with how these turned out. I'm looking forward to painting the rest of them. I have 30 more to go. But I'm really happy with my purchase when I bought these minis. Definitely worth it. And they work perfect for a fantasy setting too. So I mean, they look good for town guards, and they're 28 mil scale, so they fit in well with other fantasy lines, as you can see right there. Perfect.
Hey everybody, if you made it this far, it means you watched the end. And as always, I can't thank you enough. If you like the video, hit the thumbs up. If you want to see more, click subscribe. If you want to leave a comment down below, leave a comment. If you know what, come to the Discord. I'll leave a link in the description for that. Show me pictures of your painted minis. I love seeing other people's stuff. I really do. And I do look at all the pictures that get posted in the Discord. I really like these models from these minis from Victix. I am really liking them. I have bought a lot. I bought quite a few of them. I bought like these early armored ones. I bought the unarmored Saxons, and I also bought the Viking kits. And I plan on buying a lot more Victix stuff because they have such a wide variety of historical miniatures, and quite a lot of it will fit into fantasy. Or if you're into, more modern stuff, World War era, other stuff, they got a great selection. that you'll find something that you like. And this video is not sponsored. This is just me. But again, I really like how they turned out, and I can't be happier with the quality. So, but as always, guys, remember when you're making your terrain or painting your minis, the only person you got to worry about is you, because it's your terrain or minis.